Batman Begins was directed by Christopher Nolan, and it stars Christian Bale, Liam Neeson, Michael Caine, Cillian Murphy, Gary Oldman, and Katie Holmes. You're probably wondering why I'm doing a review of Batman Begins when I already did one back in 2018. All I have to say to that is just watch that video and witness the cringe. That was my first movie review on this channel, and that is quite evident. I had no idea about how to frame a shot. The camera was always tilted or switching angles, and that was because I shot that video on a crappy, cheap portable tripod, and it was constantly falling over, and I had no idea how to readjust the shot. So, in a little less than a month, Matt Reeves' The Batman will be coming out. And for the longest time, I've always wanted to review Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy in its entirety. I mean, I kind of started to do that back in 2018, but I never got around to reviewing The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. So I thought this was the perfect time to revisit Batman Begins and to finally do a review of The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. So I always viewed the Dark Knight trilogy as a three-part character arc, that being the birth, death, and resurrection of the Dark Knight. This film is obviously the birth and beginning of the legend of the Dark Knight. And this arc was captured nearly perfectly. Just the way it was executed just screams Batman. We know from the very beginning that Bruce is afraid of bats, and we see him control this fear and eventually personify it to become a symbol. For Bruce to become the thing that scares him, and for him to use that fear to prey on those who prey on the fearful, is like the key element of what makes Batman Batman. The fact that this film captured this so perfectly just shows you how well Christopher Nolan and crew understood this character. Since this is an ultra-realistic take on the character, it does stray away from the comics a little bit, but it still keeps that overall essence of what makes a great Batman story so great. Another great aspect of this film is the cinematography. Yes, this film looks kind of ugly, but that was the aesthetic Nolan was trying to go for. He wanted to convey that Gotham City is, well, a slum pit and a terrible place to live. The muddy look to Gotham shows you how ugly and gross and honestly drab this city is. And that is one thing I think this film does better than The Dark Knight. In The Dark Knight, Gotham kind of looks like Chicago, but here Gotham actually looks like a hellscape. And yes, there is absolutely no shortage of extremely dynamic shots in this film. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I actually prefer the Batman Begins suit over the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises suit. I understand why they changed it, because Christian Bale wanted something more comfortable, and so they gave him something that he was actually able to turn his head while wearing. Though I prefer the Begins suit because it looks more comic accurate. Yeah, it's a lot more bulky, but at the same time, it looks more like Batman to me. This also might be my favorite take of the Batman origin story. Seeing him train with the League of Shadows and to practically become a ninja is just such an interesting take on the Batman origin story. Also, the sound design in this film is excellent. Seeing Bruce and Ducard fight on the bed of ice and you hear the ice cracking below them is just such a cool little touch. The fact that the filmmakers went the extra mile to include that, I think, is so incredibly cool. It really adds a level of tension and suspense to this whole scene. And Hans Zimmer's, of course, knocked it out of the park with the score of this film. I mean, he's one of the greatest film composers of our time, and His Batman score is my personal favorite Batman theme. I don't know, I prefer it over the Danny Elfman theme. I just feel like it's more balls to the walls, and it really punches you in the face with the high bass, and I personally just enjoy it more because of that. A lot of people have criticisms against Katie Holmes' performance as Rachel Dawes. I mean, a lot of those criticisms do have some merit to them. Like, her character is just there to provide exposition dumps, and I mean, that does have merit to them. But I feel like all what really matters with this character is that you buy the relationship between her and Bruce. And in this film, you do buy that relationship, that they've been friends since like childhood, and they both really mean a lot to each other. And I think the line, "It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me," that quote is just so powerful, and it's my favorite line in the entire movie. There's no shortage of great and truly inspiring lines in this movie. Overall, Batman Begins is a stellar introduction to the Dark Knight trilogy, and I believe it is criminally underrated and almost as good as The Dark Knight. It is my favorite origin story film, and because of that, Batman Begins gets an S. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my review of Batman Begins. And if you did, make sure to give this video a like. And if you want more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell notification so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And shout out to Tony Soprano and Big Time Rush. Thanks for watching.